Hello there, Lucifer here. Today, I will explain an American parody show film called Yes God Yeses. Spoilers ahead, keep an eye out and fare thee well. The film is set in the year 2000. In the principal scene, we are acquainted with a modest and guiltless teen who learns at a severe Catholic secondary school. The spot is severe to such an extent that numerous understudies quit coming after the initial not many days. The discipline instructor makes a point to check every one of the young ladies minutely with regards to appearance. She even estimates their skirts to confirm, assuming they are of suitable length. The school is likewise famous for its ultra-strict convictions. Lying is viewed as a transgression, and watching heartfelt motion pictures is considered punishworthy. While the vast majority of the understudies concur with it, Alice, who is going through an extraordinary young adult stage, is befuddled. She is extremely inquisitive about sensual stuff. The school's head, Father Murphy, ordinarily takes sex ed classes, where he makes sense of that intercourse without the reason for generation is a transgression. At some point, an inquisitive understudy asks if self-copulation, for example jacking off, is legitimate. Father Murphy basically cross-inquiries him. Does that produce children? He likewise clarifies that any type of intercourse before marriage will bring about never-ending wretchedness. Alice struggles with grasping this, as her sexual cravings continue to develop with each class. On one hand, her instructor rigorously prompts her against those dreams, however then again, her body needs it. She turns out to be much more confounded when her dearest companion, Laura, doesn't uphold her sentiments. The last option accepts that understudies their age ought to just zero in on their examinations. Afterward, when Alice arrives at home, she promptly sits close to her PC and opens the well-known internet-based discussion board, AOL. As she is going through different rooms, she unexpectedly receives a message from an obscure person by the username HAIRYCHEST1956. He has sent a few spontaneous and unequivocal pictures of him doing it with his better half. Alice, who has never seen such pictures, quickly switches off the screen in disdain. Be that as it may, not long after, interest gets the better of her, so she turns on the screen and starts looking at the pictures. Minutes after the fact, HAIRYCHEST1956 again messages her. He needs to know her ASL. Alice doesn't have the foggiest idea what that implies, so he makes sense of for her exhaustively. After Alice lies that she is a 22-year-old young lady from Iowa, the man requests her image. Marginally frightened, she sends him a photograph of her companion, all things considered. This invigorates the man much more, so he begins sending her sexual messages. Alice simply peruses in bewilderment as she doesn't see a large portion of the words. As the visit proceeds, the man asks on the off chance that she is pleasuring herself. Alice has never gotten it done. Yet when the man consoles her that it's fine, she slides her hand inside. Out of nowhere, Alice begins feeling superb. Yet before she can detonate, her mom gets back. She speedily switches off the screen and surges towards the kitchen. The following day at school, as Alice and Laura are eating in the cafeteria, a famous young lady approaches them and says, "I can't completely accept that Alice prepared Swim's plate of mixed greens." She additionally specifies that the whole school is humming with this talk. In any case, Alice denies doing that, saying she doesn't have any idea what the expression implies. She likewise declares that she never converses with Swim, the geeky colleague who generally looks high. After the well-known young lady leaves, Alice takes out the front of a chocolate filling and starts licking it. Obviously, this makes the folks close by burst out in giggling. Swim and his better half likewise show up there and call Alice revolting. Afterward, the discipline educator finds out about the gossip and precludes Alice from serving during mass. She likewise cautions the youngster to be cautious, as God is watching her. At night, Alice, who is having a blameworthy outlook on the AOL visit episode, admits her pardonable wrongdoings to Father Murphy. The last option doesn't chide her, yet he amiably requests that she abstain from things like this. As a type of discipline, he advises her to discuss the request multiple times, which she immediately does. In the following scene, both Alice and Laura choose to go to the school's forthcoming retreat, where the understudies will be shown how to draw nearer to God. Alice considers this to be the ideal chance to get back to the way of uprightness, while Lauren needs to be seen by a famous senior named Nina. At the point when they show up at the campsites, Alice can't remove her eyes from a retreat chief, Chris, who likewise is the commander of the school football crew. Then again, Laura is eager to at long last see Nina, who is another retreat chief. Yet, the two get chosen in the contrary gatherings, making them upset. Afterward, Nina drives Alice to her room and requests that she hand over the entirety of her contraptions and gadgets. Alice hands her watch, However, she keeps her telephone with herself. The following morning, every one of the understudies accumulate in the primary corridor, where Father Murphy begins one of his exhausting talks. He says that they have been gathered to this outing by, in all honesty, the all-powerful God himself. When the understudies endure his talk, they are approached to partake in a study. In a structure, a variety of sentiments are referenced, and the understudies should circle the ones they felt over time. Alice circles some of them, alongside the word turned on. After the time is up, however, she has a difference in contemplations. She attempts to delete the circle over turned on, yet can't. Thus she essentially crosses out the word prior to presenting the structure. For the following activity, the understudies are approached to come in front of an audience and express whatever they need to say. Nina accepts this as the ideal chance to turn into the focal point of fascination. She happens about how her family overlooked her when she was a youngster. The arrangement works and every one of the understudies circle her and give her a warm embrace. That evening, as Alice is guilefully utilizing her wireless, she unexpectedly gets a thought. She puts the gadget on vibration mode and afterward pushes it between her legs. Alice unexpectedly begins having butterflies in her stomach and a bizarre sensation she has never felt. Be that as it may, when she sees the cross hanging in her room, she stops. On the second day of the retreat, every one of the understudies are taken on a climb through the forest. A young lady incidentally trips, so Chris helps her up carefully. This gives Alice a thought. So she fakes a physical issue and calls him for help. He quickly goes to her, gets her, and takes her to a medical caretaker. Alice is elated. To her, she is having numerous hormonal blasts. The retreat is ending up being a decent one for her up until this point. However, tragically, at night, Nina learns about her PDA. When it out of the blue beginnings vibrating, it is quickly seized and Alice is shipped off Father Murphy. As a discipline, he relegates her to cleaning obligations around the retreat house. Alice obliges and begins cleaning straight up. A couple of hours after the fact, while she's currently at it, she sees a PC inside Father Murphy's room. Since there is nobody, Alice quietly opens his PC and logs onto AOL namelessly. Then, she asks what preparing the serving of mixed greens really implies. Sadly, individuals in the discussion board offer her various responses, and not a single one of them appear to be decisive. Simultaneously, Alice hears a few strides drawing closer, so she quickly switches off the screen, not understanding that the PC is as yet open. On out, she runs into Nina, who happily coerces Alice about her assumed experience with swim. Nina further adds that she isn't frantic at her for illicitly sneaking in her telephone. All things being equal, she is confident that Alice is on the correct way towards uprightness. On the third day, Chris accumulates a lot of understudies and requests that they admit their second thoughts on the off chance that they have any. He says that admissions assist individuals with alleviating their pressure and remain on track. Individually, every one of the understudies makes sense of their tragic accounts. One discussions about his new separation with his sweetheart, while another notices how she was unable to go to her grandma's burial service. At the point when it's Alice's move, she doesn't have anything to say, so she simply lies that her canine was harmed to death, and she was unable to save him. The story contacts one of the understudies so profoundly that she begins crying. Afterward, as every one of the understudies are in the cafeteria, Father Murphy appears with a restless look and uncovers that somebody got to unequivocal substance on his PC. He then, at that point, advises the offender to guarantee liability at the earliest opportunity. At the point when nobody expresses a word, he leaves, saying his number one expression, "God is watching." The occurrence terrifies Alice, yet she chooses to maintain her mystery covered. In the following scene, every one of the understudies are called to Father Murphy's office individually. He needs to check, assuming that they are gaining ground. Before long, it's Alice's move, and the principal thing she has gotten some information about her relationship with God. She just answers its benefit. After this, Murphy asks her for what valid reason she orbited the word turned on. Alice makes sense of that she felt it prior to coming to this retreat. However, presently, she doesn't feel anything. Prior to leaving, Father Murphy discusses her talk with Swim and even presses her to admit it. In any case, Alice, who actually doesn't have the foggiest idea what the genuine gossip is, lets him know that she is honest. That very day, as Alice is cleaning the cafeteria, Swim chooses to wrap her up by littering around. She indignantly asks him what's his concern. However, before he can reply, Father Murphy shows up there and removes him. Not long after, when Alice continues her cleaning, she finds Swim's armband, which he had dropped before. She keeps it in her pocket and heads to the kitchen, where she sees something stunning. Nina is kissing and afterward fellating an irregular person in the forest. Alice is left in total skepticism, yet she is likewise excited. Thus, she puts the mop handle between her thighs and quiets her chemicals. Whenever she is finished, she races to her closest companion, Laura, and shares what she saw. Be that as it may, the last option won't trust her. All things considered, she chastens Alice for expressing such detestable things about her object of worship, Nina. She even blames her for utilizing AOL on the dad's PC and considers her a pervy psycho. Tired of everybody attempting to pass judgment on her, Alice goes straight into Father Murphy's office and plants Swim's wristband under the console. Yet, before she can leave, Murphy returns, constraining her to conceal inside the storeroom. Shockingly, the sacred dad begins taking one out to some grown-up satisfied he has put away in his blessed PC. Alice, who observes everything, gets so nauseated that she shuts her eyes and turns her head around. Outside, she meets Chris, who inquires as to whether she is alright. He likewise demands conversing with her to encourage her. Alice thinks he is into her, so she kisses him enthusiastically. Tragically, Chris thinks that it is exceptionally peculiar and takes off crying. Around evening time, when everybody is occupied with their requests, Alice escapes the campsites to have some natural air. She coincidentally finds a lesbian bar, where she and the proprietor, Gina, empathize about how the feeling of dread toward punishment can twist a juvenile's turn of events. The teen asks Gina about for what good reason everybody folds over a phony picture to intrigue others and conceal who they truly are. She further adds that she is reluctant to investigate and commit little missteps, scared of the way that she will push off. Seeing her discouraged, Gina uncovers her own story. She makes sense of that she was likewise raised in a Catholic school, where the standards were very severe. Nonetheless, she didn't allow them to change herself, and presently, she is an entirely unexpected individual than what was generally anticipated of her. Hearing this, Alice turns out to be to some degree cheerful. After their discussion closes, Gina gives her a ride back to the retreat. She additionally urges her to investigate universities that are considerably more liberal. Before she returns, Alice has one final inquiry. She needs to know the importance of preparing somebody's serving of mixed greens. Gina chuckles for some time, lastly uncovers that it signifies licking somebody's rectum. Alice likewise claims to snicker. However, where it counts inside, she is astonished. On the last day of the retreat, as every one of the understudies are eating, Father Murphy unexpectedly pulls Swim away. Turns out that his wristband has been found, making him the culprit in the dad's eyes. With this, Laura likewise wipes the slate clean with Alice and vows to not pass judgment on her once more. Shockingly, she likewise uncovers that Swim is gay. He essentially spread the gossip of Alice preparing his serving of mixed greens to cover his actual character. Afterward, in the sharing meeting, Swim is made to apologize for every one of the horrendous outrages he has committed. Whenever he is finished, Father Murphy inquires as to whether anybody needs to go straight away. Alice quickly volunteers and starts her discourse. She makes sense of that everybody has something to stow away, yet that doesn't make them a terrible individual. A few things are best inferred. She additionally urges everybody to not follow tales and regard everybody similarly, very much like Jesus did. Following this, the scene jumps to a couple of days after the fact. At school, Alice runs into Chris. Yet he is as yet uncomfortable with the prior episode. He feels that Alice will kiss him in the future. However, when she guarantees that she simply needs to be companions, he quiets down. That night, Alice heads to the compromise room with Father Murphy, where she casually uncovers that she watched a grown-up video during the retreat. At the point when she begins making sense of the particulars of the video, Father Murphy understands that it's his number one. The two of them know what's up, yet they don't talk about it. Prior to leaving, Alice inquires as to whether she will get rebuffed for watching the Express Happy, and Murphy, with disgrace in his eyes, says, "I don't be aware." In the last scene, Alice arrives at home and plays the videotape of her number one film, Titanic. She advances to the cozy scene and gets ready to set off her chemicals. The film closes as she sees a vibrator close by, conceivably having a place with her mom.